My name is Lockie Phillips, and I am a horse trainer, an instructor, a coach, an international clinician, and a horse dad. This is the Emotional Horsemanship Podcast, your pit stop in a troubled world to explore horse training that puts the horse first. You can expect controversy because, well, frankly, putting the horse first remains controversial. You can expect my opinions because I'm here to share them. You can expect facts because I'm here to share them. You can expect mistakes, and you can expect, well, humanity here because I am fundamentally a flawed human being. This place is a place for our guests and for myself to share our experiences freely and openly to help reach people just like you who have felt things or experienced things or thought things about horses that you might be afraid to speak of in other places. Here, we explore those things. This is your place to come home to horsemanship that just trains horses without saddling them with emotional baggage. My guest on the podcast today is Susan Regina Glick. Susan was born and raised in a large Amish community in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, USA, and has had a deep love for horses ever since she can remember. And while searching for a better way to connect with one of her horses called Sundance, Susan came across Liberty horsemanship and began to incorporate it into her work with her horses. And with that, her passion for what she calls peaceful horsemanship and connection at Liberty was born. She is passionate about horses truly having a choice, not just the appearance of one, and is on a journey of aligning her instincts and her values with that principle more purely. Susan and her horse Sundance now travel to different equine events, clinics, and expos around the US, teaching and performing at Liberty, and teaching on the parallels between our relationship with our horses, our relationship with God, if you are a believer, our relationship with ourselves, and others. And though Susan is no longer a part of the Amish church, she is deeply passionate about reaching the Amish community with kind, caring horsemanship education. I absolutely loved recording this episode with Susan. I've been sitting on it for a few months, and I'm so excited to introduce you all to her if you don't already know who she is. I'd like to introduce Susan Glick here to the Emotional Horsemanship Podcast. Good morning, Susan. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. It's amazing. I am well. How are you?
I'm good. So this is the question I like to start these episodes with, especially if you're a first-time guest. It's a big question, and you can answer it in any way that you like. But Susan, who are you? What do you do? And how do you do it?
Oh, okay. Okay. I am, oh boy, there's a lot. That's a tiny question, but it's huge, Lockie. That's cool. Okay. I am, that's like making me have all kinds of like identity things going through my head right now, but this is good. So I am first and foremost a Jesus girl. I am a family girl, and I'm a horse girl. And those are my three big things. What I do with horses is I work with a lot of uh, so my background is Amish, and that I think gives people an idea of where I'm at with horses and what kind of horses I see coming through and what kind of people I interact with a lot.
You are Amish.
I am no longer Amish, but I still live in the community.
Okay.
I still dress
as
similarly.
Amish. Yeah.
Yes. I'm still I was so for people who don't know, I'll give like a little brief story or overview of how it works if you leave the Amish. So I was a member of the church, and so
you were
I
raised.
Did get shunned.
You were raised in the you were raised in the Amish community.
I was raised in the Amish community, and then there's a process you go through where you join the church, And if you go through that process, you're considered a member. Then if you choose to leave after that, there's the shunning process and the excommunication thing that happens. Thankfully, praise the Lord, my family does not agree with the shunning, and they've allowed me to, you know, stay at home and be a part of their life. And they're not even, they don't even act like they're, doing this big favor for me. Like they were never gonna they were never gonna make that a part of their life for me,
Wow.
which is amazing. There are people in the community who that did shut them off towards anything I have to bring to the table or interacting with me at all, and that's okay. Um, but my passion and my heart for the horses in the Amish community is really big. Like that's where I have a lot of draw to make a difference, I guess, is in the Amish community with the horses there. So that's feels like that's what my identity is as a horse person right now, is equine wellness and horse care and just overall whole horse wellness is what I call it in the Amish community especially, and then obviously everywhere. But that's where we're starting from.
Wow. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And you're so, what a blessing that your family did not co-sign the shunning process so that you could remain a part of their life. But am I understanding correctly? And, you could remain a part of their life. But am I understanding correctly that when you decided to leave the church, you were prepared for your family to shun you if that was their choice? Is that correct?
That's correct. So, this was it was not an experience that my family had before. I'm the oldest, and no one on like either side of my extended family, my mom's side or my dad's side, had ever left. Um, there was like a cousin, but and everyone shunned. She had to move out. Her parents asked her to leave. So, you know, I didn't have anything to compare it to. There was no um there was nothing for me to compare it to as far as how my family would react and how my church community would react. There was really no I didn't really have a precedent to compare it to. And so I was obviously very delighted and blessed by family members and a lot of friends choosing not to uphold the shunning. Um, and now it's like it doesn't even feel like that's a huge part of my life, but in where I run into it is when I'm um trying to bring what I have for the horses.
Mm.
So that's really the only place that it affects me now, because my circle has changed so much that the people who accept me and my choices aren't excommunicating me, and they want to be in my life, and then my circle is just maybe shrunk in that area and grown in other areas. So,
Yeah.
but yes, you're correct in that I didn't know what my parents' reaction would be.
Wow. So they've decided to keep you in their lives. They're not upholding the shunning process. And that's, as I understand it, extremely rare in many, but not all, Amish communities for the community to not uphold the shunning. That's quite progressive, no?
Yes, it is. It's different. And the cool thing is there's a lot of changes happening right now in the Amish communities, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of people are opening up. People are, so there's this thing that I call like the religious mindset that I
Mm.
see in a lot of like not just religions, but even in like horsemanship and in the horse industry, there's legalism, basically you could call it, and there's a reformation and restoration happening in the Amish right now, where like a lot of people are trying to get back to what the original vision was for the Amish, which was not it was not to have a cult. It was to have a community, and yes, like they their vision for it is to be God centered, and they're Christians, but somewhere along the way they kind of somehow got off of that track and ended up being like they made their identity and their religion about the standards of the church as far as the way we dress and using a horse and buggy and not a vehicle to get around. And so once they made that their religion, they lost the where there's no vision, the people perish. They had no foundation anymore. So, and then they started losing a lot of people, and I think that woke a lot of the elders, if I want to call them that, like the older people in charge, they it woke them up to thought that maybe they need to get back to the original, the original vision and the original reason they were doing what they were doing.
So the original idea or purpose for having the Amish as a community was that you live in community being God-centered, but it is family, God, and community orientated. And so the shunning is a strangely non-community based activity, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it's an interesting, that was actually the shunning, I feel has been the cause of the most division
Mm,
and actual splits in the churches over the years since it was founded in like the 1600s or something in Switzerland.
right.
Um, that has been the cause of the most division and actual splits in the church, because people just don't agree on it. And I that was part of a big part of the reason I left. Like I was at a point after I joined where I was like, okay, I can do this, I can do my thing, I can do, the things at the Horse Sport Expo, and they'll let me do that, but I could not reconcile the way I saw some people being treated when they left. And that kind of led me to just asking more questions about more things. And so it wasn't a hatred for the lifestyle or a dislike of the community or a dislike of the values even that I felt that I still feel are at the core of the vision for it's a lifestyle. It's not even supposed to be a religion.
Mm.
Amish isn't. It's supposed to be a way of life, more than a religion. And the values that I feel are at the core of that, I still agree with.
Mm.
But I could not reconcile what I was seeing happen with what supposedly vision is. And so I chose to step away, and I felt led. Like I no longer felt like this was like my path was to stay. Um, but I really felt strongly that I was not meant to leave and leave the community. So I, was obviously extremely grateful to be able to stay in the community, and a lot of people still accept me. But like you said, it feels kind of counter to the idea of family and community and God oriented to excommunicate people when they choose a different way of life. So you're
And
right.
so that's why you left. You decided to leave the community, but not the church, because you disagreed with what exactly? Can I ask that question? Is that question okay
Yes,
to ask? Why you left?
yes, that's totally fine. I think I need to just clarify. Maybe you said, I, if I can just repeat your question back to you. Your question was, I decided to leave the community, not the church, and it's actually the opposite. So the other way around.
Ah,
I left the church, not the community.
I see.
As in, if we're talking about the church as being the Amish, because they do call it the Amish church. I am still a Christian. God is a really big part of my life. God is the center of my life. But I do not really ascribe to a a religious lifestyle in the sense
In
of
the Amish sense,
in the Amish sense.
because of the
Yes,
the
or in the sense of
control.
what in a lot of sense of what a lot of people have of the idea of a religious lifestyle. I don't really ascribe to, but yes, in the Amish sense.
So, what is I'm just really curious. What is, in your words, the Amish religious lifestyle that you decided to walk away from? What was it about the Amish church that you were walking away from?
Oh, that's really good. So I walked away from, yes, the control. Um, there's a lot of, and I for me, I think, like I said, the biggest part of it was that what you're saying isn't lining up with what you're doing. Like they were,
Incongruence.
yes, incongruence, inauthenticity. The values, ideals, and actions weren't aligning. And there's a history of that. It goes back hundreds of years at this point, where they 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 said the values and the vision is this, and then they did something else. And I was opening up my Bible and seeing that there's nowhere that it says you have to drive a horse and buggy, but for some reason, when people are choosing to not drive a horse and buggy anymore, we're acting like they died. And that's a that's different because we're saying we believe the Bible, but we're adding. It's like this
Mm,
end, we're adding all of these rules that aren't recorded in biblical text, to my knowledge, but we are acting as though they're hot. Even we're holding ourselves to that standard more even than the Bible. There's a lot that happens. There's a big history of violence and sexual abuse and things happening inside the church that never gets reported because it happens by people in power, gets swept under the rug, and you don't talk. And that is changing. Like right now, literally in the last couple of weeks, there's all kinds of testimonies coming out and people are telling their story, and it's causing uproar. Like
mm,
people are pissed off.
mm.
It is not a fun time to be someone who's committed any kinds of heinous acts like that in the Amish, and I'm
Good.
here for it. It is amazing. Um, so so I think that was also a big part of it for me, was like I knew some stories where some bishops and leaders of the church had committed just awful crimes against people and just horrible acts, and nothing happens. Nothing gets done. And so that was another place that was like, this is not lining up with what, they're supposed to, excuse me, they're supposed to be leaders of the church. This is not lining up with what I know a leader is supposed to look like, or a man of God, like you claim you are. So I had a huge spiritual reckoning. I had like, it was, it's still, I still think sometimes I'm not even there yet. Like I'm still the ooey gooey mess in the cocoon. I'm not even the butterfly yet. Like everything came apart in my brain. It's kind of it, and it kind of what was interesting about it was it happened alongside the same time that everything started coming apart in my brain about horsemanship, and so those two things are really close in my mind and in my soul because they're like I think it's because a lot of the change and a lot of the transformation happened at the same time for me. Like my spiritual transformation and my horsemanship transformation are really closely linked. So
You
that
say that you're in the ooey gooey, messy transition, and I think all of us are in some degree, in some aspect, and that you're not the butterfly yet. I have to disagree. I'm sitting here looking at a butterfly.
that's really kind of you to say.
No, that's the truth. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, as we would say in Australia. Australians have a horrible communication style, by the way. At times, I have to temper it for dignified company at times. But no, you're blooming. It's
Thank
very
you.
clear. It's very clear. And like I was thinking when you were talking about incongruence, the incongruence you were feeling from the church and how they were adding things that weren't in the Bible and then saying that we adhere to the Bible. Um, it's been my experience that there's like two different types of incongruence. There's incongruence driven through, let's say, classical incongruence, where someone is really just not aligned. Their words, their actions, they're not authentic and following through with their belief system. And then there's a type of incongruence that's almost an illusion. It's an illusory incongruence because when somebody, be that an individual or a community or even a system of horsemanship, is in the process of changing and developing and growing, that process often looks like incongruence because they haven't landed yet at
Yes.
their destination that they're heading to. So they're in this in-between stage. And I've certainly caught that sometimes because I'm addicted to change, I'm addicted to growth. And so people who experience me during a period of growth will often have this feeling of, is there incongruence there? And maybe there is sometimes, no one's immune to it, but it's usually for me a growth issue. And I'm like, just give me some time, give me some patience. But like with the Amish community, if they've been around since the 1600s and they're still sort of going along these same incongruences, I mean, I know change can be slow, but do we need 400 years, 500 years to make some of these changes? Right? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that the changes I really love what you just said, and I'm like pondering over it a little bit. But your question at the end was, what do I think of, do we need 400, 500 years to make the change? I would say no.
Yeah.
Um, I still I still really appreciate what I believe the founders of this of the movement meant for it to stand for and for it to be. I don't think you have I don't think you have to make it a religion. So I believe that I can take those same values, because anybody can have God and faith and spirituality and family and community as a value, or as values, and as, a foundational part of their life, and not make it a religion that ends up being really close to a cult. So the movement that I'm seeing right now, like the change that I'm seeing, I think is hundreds of years in the making. So yes, change can be slow, but what it's causing is, it is literally separating
Families.
this this is yes, it's separating families. And I was about to use a biblical term. You said I could say things that I wouldn't normally say. This is a punch I would pull depending what company I'm in.
Say it.
But this is a biblical term, and I was gonna say that it's separating the goats from the sheep. And that is kind of wild that I just said that. It feels kind of wild. But
That
I
compared to
believe
some
that's
of the things
actually
that
what's
have
happening.
compared to the things that fly out of my mouth sometimes, that was
Okay.
absolutely harmless. So
Well,
separating
it
the
feels
goats from the sheep.
judgmental.
Okay,
Yes, it
but
feels judgmental.
it is because you're using good judgment. So it is judgmental because you're using good
Yes.
judgment. That's what that's
Yes.
about.
Yes. So what I see happening is it's separating the people who truly, who really, really want the truth and really want what's good, and know what, like, they're all going through this metamorphosis right now. And they're all figuring out what they stand for, and they're being separated really obviously. Like, there's no hiding it anymore from the people who would like to still keep living their life the way they're living it, and doing things behind the scenes that aren't congruent, like we talked about, or doing acting like they're in the light but keeping part of their life in darkness. And the
Mm,
people who are ready for the light are like fully in right now. And so I think that's the change I see happening, is it's becoming really obvious what side you're on.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. Is English your first language or your second?
English is my second language.
Right.
I was taught what we call Pennsylvania Dutch, which is a mixture of, I don't
Dutch,
really know at all.
German, Swiss German.
Dutch and
I
German,
lived in
yes.
Switzerland and Pennsylvania Dutch sounds a lot like some dialects of Swiss German.
Oh, interesting.
Right,
That's cool. Okay. Huh. Yeah, I mean that's where they started. That's where they founded the
right.
Amish. It wasn't even the Amish yet, but yeah,
I
that's
had
cool.
a Swiss person come up to me on the street in Zurich once when they heard me speaking English and asked me where I was from. And I said, I'm from Australia. And they said, well, how are you finding our language of Zuridush, which is like Zurich German, which is a
Okay.
form of Swiss German, because every city in Switzerland has a different dialect of Swiss German. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I've got lessons. I'm really enjoying learning Swiss German and High German. And they said, it's more like a throat infection than a language, don't you think?
Uh,
Because it's like take German, which is a very clean and crisp and sometimes aggressive language, and you kind of
mhm.
put more phlegm into it and put more like ups and downs into it, and like it kind of goes. It's a little bit more rounded and
Yeah.
like a more phlegm. Yeah, just more
Yeah.
phlegm. And I
Yeah.
had to laugh that they said that. It wasn't my idea. And I'm standing there laughing on the street at a Swiss German person calling their own language a throat infection. Um,
That's cool.
yeah. Anyway, so that's cool. So when did you learn English and where? In school?
I learned English at home.
Okay.
So this might speak to my family being, again, just a little bit more open and maybe a little more progressive in terms of in relation to the Amish. But we had I don't know that we really spoke it a lot at home in my younger years, but when I was 7, my parents bought a market stand they called it an Amish farmers market. There was a lot of non-Amish stand holders there as well. And my mom is a florist. My dad did woodworking, and so we had two kind of stands that we merged and had a stand at this Amish farmers market. And so I was in school 5 days a week, and then I would go to the farmers market on Saturday. And farmers market was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So in the summertime, I spent 3 days a week there. And we got to know a lot of people who weren't Amish, and we got to be, cute little Amish kids running around speaking pretty fluent English. And people were like, "Oh my goodness!" And it was like, anyway. So I think that's where I learned a lot of the Amish. And that's where, even at a fairly young age, I was told that when I speak English, I don't sound Amish, which was a compliment to me at the time because I didn't like the Pennsylvania Dutch accent. The like, I just didn't like the dullness of it. I liked proper English and speaking crisply. And so, so that was a compliment to me at the time. Now I'm like, I'm kind of passionate about like my little siblings who almost don't speak Pennsylvania Dutch. I really want them to learn it and know how to speak it at least. And if I have children someday, I would really like for them to be able to know it. Just because it's a cool language to know. And there's not very many people that know it. I just think it's a cool language.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a large family?
I'm the oldest of 6.
Okay.
So in the Amish, that's not super large.
No, that's a small
But
family for the Amish, right?
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
10, 10 to 12 to 15 even is
Isn't
is
unusual.
is isn't unusual. My dad is from a family. My grandmother gave birth to 23 children.
She is a saint.
She is.
Oh my
She is. She
God.
is absolutely incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is she still with us?
Yes, she is.
Wow.
Yeah. She is amazing.
And you're still in
Yeah.
contact with her?
Yes, she lives right
Wow.
across the street from my family's
Oh,
farm,
oh,
and she comes down here. She had a hip replacement in the fall, and so she would come down here on her little, old person mobility scooter. And my mom's greenhouse is heated in the winter, and so my grandma would come and hang out in the greenhouse. And
to warm up.
she's coming down to do like some of the transplanting for my mom and just repotting things for her, just to like get out of the house and do something. And she's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just loving hearing this. I have a very limited exposure to the Amish, but um, last year I was in New York State near Buffalo.
Okay.
Um, and it was my second time in the area doing a clinic there with my friend Stacey Salter at Nash Hill Equestrian Center and Allegheny Mountain Saddlery, if I'm saying that right. And her saddles are all handmade by the Amish. She has three,
Oh,
yeah, she has three Amish craftsmen that make her saddles. And I believe the trees are also made by the Amish locally as well. So I went with Stacy and Randy when they hooked up their saddle trailer and they went around to the workshops to make their collections because they visit the workshops every 10 days and make saddle collections. And she produces around 420 to 460 saddles every year and ships them all over
wow.
the world. So I was really blessed to travel with them to the Amish workshops, and I met and I have two saddles from them, and so I got to meet my maker.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and I actually got to sit on one of my saddles when it was still in the workshop and green light it and bring it home with me. And I got to shake the hand of my saddle maker and
Oh my
see his workshop and see their dogs and their turkeys and their horses too. Because my maker, not the first maker we saw, I saw two out of the three. They were young, my age, or even
God.
younger. And my maker had, I think, four horses, four or five of his own, and then two horses from a neighbor. in his barn. And I asked him, might I go see your horses? And he said, yeah, sure. And I walked into the barn because, Susan, I've heard stories, and I think this is why you work the way you work. I've heard stories about horses and the Amish, and I wanted to see his horses. I wanted to know where my saddles were coming from and what kind of business I was supporting. And I walked into a barn and I saw beautifully fed, beautifully kept, happy, hardworking horses at rest in their stalls. And that made my heart smile to see that.
I
And
bet.
Stacy, who runs Allegheny Mountain Saddlery, she says to me that she's aware that supporting the Amish as a horse person can be a tricky thing to do in the industry, and that she only works with Amish makers that are, firstly, progressive enough to work with an English woman, right? And to work underneath the leadership of an English woman, because she tells them what to do. And she's like, no, that seat's not good enough. Take that back and fix that. And she, you know, so that firstly. Secondly, she checks their horses every 10 days when she goes. And she told me that one of her
Wow.
makers, in the middle of winter, one of their horses was shivering in the paddock. And she said, that horse needs a rug. Just get a rug for that horse because they're cold. That's why they're shivering. And when she came back 10 days later, the maker said, come with me, I want to show you something, and took her to the barn and showed this new shiny rug he had bought for the horse that he was so proud of, you
Oh,
know? And so she makes sure that the horses from the makers that she works with are adhering to a standard that we can all feel good about. But if you'll permit me to just ramble a little longer, what I loved about the brief but impactful minutes I spent with them was the energy in their spaces.
okay.
Because the Western world is fast paced, anxiety riddled, hustle culture. It's driven. Everyone's too busy. Everyone's trying to make ends meet. Everyone's trying to get everything done. And there's a lot of unhappiness as a result.
Yes.
When I walked into their farms, it was like I walked through a force field of peace and calm into a lifestyle where there was nothing electronic in the room, which somehow feels better. And they just work slowly and gradually on stuff. And yet the Amish communities are some of the most productive communities in their communities. They are the industry of their communities. They build the houses, they build the barns, they build the furniture, they keep everything going. Basically, they're extremely industrious. And yet my friend Stacy says, you cannot rush the Amish. When I try to hustle them to get something done, they just look at me and say, I can only do what I can do. And that's it. And I'm like, that is so refreshing to me. I'm like, I want this lifestyle. There was something nice about it. And I was talking with my saddle maker and I'm like, well, how many hours a day do you spend working on all these saddles? He says, oh, and they speak slower.
Uh-huh.
And he said, you know, I'll work on a saddle for 2 or 3 hours until I get tired of that. And then I'll go outside and I'll work on my barn and till I get tired of that. And I'll come back inside and I'll work on another saddle until I get tired of that. And I'll walk outside and work on my fields until I get tired of that. And then the day's done. And I'm like, that must be nice to just be unrushed. Has that been true for you? That lifestyle is like that for you too?
Yes. So to an extent.
To an
Also, can
extent.
I just say I love your version of the way they speak.
Okay.
It's great. Because a lot of times it's really inaccurate, but yours was pretty good.
Thank
Um,
you.
the yeah. Uh, so so I live in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, which is one of the biggest. I believe it's the biggest now. Amish communities, Amish settlements, if you want to call it that. Um, and it is really hard to maintain that peaceful of a lifestyle in Lancaster County. So I would say I grew up with some parts of that, but not to the extent that I know that they have in New York because they have smaller communities.
Got it.
Um, there's because we live in a mixed community, and I know in some settlements and in some Amish communities they have like literally a community of mostly Amish people, and
Right.
it's not that way here. And in Lancaster County, unfortunately, there's a lot of a lot of farms are being sold. Um, a lot of it's just what's happening almost everywhere with the housing crisis. It's just like there's developments going up left and right in Lancaster County, and people want to retire here. People want to move here from Manhattan or from Long Island because it's peaceful here and it's the country, but it's really quickly turning into
Not peaceful
a different,
countryside,
yes,
the suburbs.
yes, yes, kind of bad. It's
Mm.
sad, but I am was fortunate enough to grow up on like on land. Like my family has land, and we have a small, what we consider small compared to a lot of farms. Like we have 10 acres, um, and then we're surrounded by farms, which is incredible. So I grew up, with my ponies and my horses, and I could just go riding for miles and not really worry about getting to a really busy road or a lot of houses or a lot of non-Amish neighbors who would worry about me riding through their backyard. So, you know, so that, so yes, to some extent, like it, I think it's the same. We want the same. We want to have that same peaceful, tranquil,
But
relaxed
but
lifestyle in
I think
Lancaster County.
the Manhattan and Long Island influx has maybe not cross-contaminated, but started to change the energies of the communities that
Yes,
have been there. Is that
yes.
right?
And I'm not saying don't immigrate to Lancaster County from Long
Yes,
Island. Like
yes, of
it's
course you
not,
are.
it's we're very welcoming. And also I think the other part of it is in Lancaster County, the tourism
Mm.
industry is huge. So, which they the people want to see the Amish, so they come to Lancaster County, and that's wonderful. I worked in that industry for a while. I gave buggy rides to tourists. I
Mm.
gave buggy rides to lots of. I think I don't remember what the numbers were, but like in 1 week, it was like people from 10 different countries and 20 or 30 different states. So like I met a lot of people from everywhere, and that was really cool. And they all came to see the Amish and to have a buggy ride. And I was working with horses, which was
Mm.
really cool, and people, which I didn't enjoy my whole life, but I got to enjoy it then. So um so I think that also makes a difference. If you have like a bustling Amish community with a lot of different Amish industry. Like there's everything here in Lancaster County, and people want to come see that. So that makes a big difference. Whereas I know in some of the smaller Amish communities, they're not as open and welcoming to tourists, and the tourists don't really go there to see the things that they come to Lancaster County to see. And so that's made Lancaster County really busy.
So your county is a little bit like Amish Disneyland.
Yes. That's a that's a good
You can steal that
that's
phrase.
that's a good comparison. I will. Thank you. I will borrow it. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, that.
Okay. Well, you're a horse trainer, right?
I don't really call myself a horse trainer.
Well, what do you call yourself then?
A horse person.
Well, what's wrong with being a horse trainer?
There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't like I don't do like client horses anymore. I don't really train horses anymore like I used to, but
Yes, you
okay.
do. Aren't you
Okay.
presenting horses at events with Liberty stuff and all this sort of stuff?
Yes.
That would
Yes,
mean you're
that's that
training
part.
those horses, right? Did someone else train those horses?
No, I train those.
So then you're a horse trainer.
Okay.
That doesn't mean you train horses for the public.
Yes,
And
that's true.
you don't have to, well, in my opinion, we don't have to train horses for the public to be a horse trainer. You see?
I see what you're saying. I think I changed the terminology because
Mm.
calling myself a horse trainer implied to I don't know if it was culturally like to the Amish or it was just like the part of the industry I was in at the time,
Mm.
but it implied that I was,
Doing something for the
you
public.
know, colt starting and taking in client horses, which I wasn't. So,
Yeah. I
or
think
am not.
I think a lot of horse people would serve horses better if we expanded our concept of what a horse trainer is and stop
Okay.
kind of pigeonholing the term horse trainer into one very, very specific job title or job function, because training with horses happens everywhere all the time. And if we handle horses, we're training them. So by that definition, almost anyone is training horses if you're handling them, unless the horse is completely mechanical and not listening and is just responding, then you're not training. As soon as the horse starts learning something, you're training them, because training's about educating horses. That's my opinion, but I don't
It's true.
ask anyone to agree
I
with
can
me.
get behind expanding our idea of what a horse trainer is.
Okay. And so
Yeah.
you call yourself a horse person. What do you do with horses now?
What I do with horses now is I have my own horses, and a huge chunk of my time and life and money is spent trying to make the just my horse's life better.
Mm.
That's a lot of what I do with horses now. Um, and beyond that, we meaning my horses and I travel to different events in the States. The furthest we've gone is Kentucky. That might
Wow.
not mean anything to like,
That's
do you know? Because
that's
like some people don't know, like
I'm a
if you're not
geography nerd.
from
I'm
the
a
States.
geography nerd. So
Awesome.
that's quite a long distance from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So we go there for the International Liberty Horse Association Liberty Festival in the
Wow.
fall usually. Um, I got to present there in October, and then I had like a little tiny clinic tour that I did, the clinic and event tour that I did last fall. So we do like we do some events, and mostly um we hang out in the paddock at home and learn, and it's fun. So that's what I do with horses right now. What's coming up like this year for me with horses is a lot more clinics and teaching opportunities and private lessons that people want to do. Um, my heart is still really in teaching, especially the young Amish girls with their ponies that really don't know much other than what they've seen their dad do with the buggy horse. Um, I think partly because I think I see myself in them a little bit, because when I was young, all I wanted was to learn more about horses. And I was fortunate enough to grow up with like next door to my grandparents, and my aunt had three Chincoteague ponies, and I was able to ride them. Like I love to share that I was riding before I walked, because that's also very uncommon in the Amish. So I was fortunate enough to have that in my life, and not all of these young Amish girls are like they grow up around horses, and then it I think what it does for a lot of people is kind of closes their mind in a way to what horses actually can be, and what they can be to us, and how amazing we could make life for horses. Um, because we have kind of a just in the Amish in general, I think, horses have like a cookie cutter job and a cookie cutter life, and this is what horses do. Um, and I think even for me, like I had my mind wasn't open to all of the possibilities with horses, but what I really want to see happen is the just equine wellness. And I know like you had an amazing experience in New York, with the Amish that you met there, and the equine wellness that you saw there, which is incredible. And I love that you're not trying to make it sound like the Amish are horrific horse owners and desperately in need of our assistance to make their horses' lives better, because that's not the case everywhere. It is the case in some places, and I have a really big passion for that. But it's it's one of those things where like you really can't force it, because especially I don't know at this point who it's easier for them to hear it from, people that they have never met before and will never see again, or someone like me who was in the community and left, like, or in the church and left. Like, I don't know at this point because I feel like they're almost equally shut down to hearing from either of those parties. Um, but that's a big part. So circling back around to what I'm doing with horses right now is I am currently working on a book called Whole Horse Wellness, and it is a little spiral. It's going to be like a little, probably little spiral bound book, uh, mostly written with young Amish girls in mind, Amish in general. But I want it to be something that they can pick up and read. We get, an eighth grade education. They are incredibly smart. Like, these people are not dumb. They are really, really good at learning, but they don't have access to the information. And this is one way that we can get some information into their hands. So in working with some other professionals and like some veterinarians, and we're working on a book. And it's going to have lots of pictures. It's going to have pictures of my track system and pictures of happy, healthy horses, and just to hopefully help. All I want to do is to have people start asking questions and being open to information and maybe just opening their minds a little bit. So
yeah,
that's that part of it. And then the lessons and clinics and teaching opportunities it's Liberty work and a lot of retraining people is what's happening. When you said about how I think you called it the illusion. I don't remember I don't remember what your word was for it.
Illusion of incongruence. Yeah.
Yes. The illusion of incongruence, was, like, I felt a little nudge when you said that because I was told recently by someone who I this was a person who facilitated in a big way a lot of my entry into like the Liberty world and into like just into that side of horsemanship as a discipline at the time. They really helped me get into that, and this was someone that I highly respected and still deeply love and want the best for. I was told by them that they can't tell what I stand for in horsemanship anymore. That was like really, really hard to hear. And I think it was because I'm still going through this like metamorphosis that's happening where I'm like, nope, don't want that anymore. Nope, don't like that. And I'm finding new things, and I haven't attached myself to any really specific thing at the moment. And he was just like, I don't even know what you're doing in horsemanship.
Well, if someone knows you as the caterpillar, they won't recognize you as the butterfly.
Whoa, Lockie.
It's true.
Wow. Okay.
That doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It just means you've changed and you're supposed to. They can't see
That's
you
really
because
cool.
you're different now. So they don't see you because you're different than their first impression of you. And that speaks to their inability to change with you, or their inability to allow the people in their life to change. They don't have to change. You can stay the same if you want to. But if people around you want to shift and do shift, we can perhaps afford them the grace to do so.
Yeah. No, I agree. I like that. That was a good one. People who knew you as the caterpillar won't recognize you as the butterfly.
You can borrow that one too if you need. But
thanks.
It sounds like some of the more deeply entrenched or conservative Amish communities that have horses need someone from inside that community who hasn't left to teach them. But that's unlikely to happen because of the nature of thought control that sometimes occurs in those same communities. So it's a little bit of a dead-end street. It's a little bit of a catch-22 situation. And what happens is that a lot of horses can sometimes find themselves in that environment where the wellness of the horses is not being optimized, not because of any ill intentions. In fact, these are hardworking horses people rely on. They need them healthy. They need them well more than anyone else sometimes, but they just don't know. Right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And I love that you're focusing your book on Amish girls. My heart sings to hear that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's it's a really big passion of mine. And I think, you know, we know just in general, we know that um sometimes if we want to change a a culture or change the world, we gear it towards the young people. And sometimes that can be used for negative purposes,
Hmm.
or you can make really, really positive change by um because younger people, and this is not this sounds like a terrible generalization, but it's just true that a lot of times when you're younger, you're open to more things.
No,
And
that's just
you're
like
a little more
that's the science of brain development, because
yeah.
some brains stop a lot of its development at 25. But I've met people who were 19 who were done mentally, like they weren't going to uh, assimilate anything new. And I've met people in their late 70s who have a younger heart than I do and a
Mhm.
more fluid mind than I do.
Yeah.
And that hugely inspires me to know that youth is a sensation, and that the ability to learn is a feeling state, not an age state. That's been my
Yes.
experience.
Yes. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
I think um I think what I see happening is there's some positive change happening even in the older generation in the Amish, and it just it turns their life upside down. Like
Mm.
everything. I mean, it literally is a metamorphosis for them. And the interesting thing, Rocky, is that you can't force that. Like
Right.
you cannot
Make people
tell
change.
people no, you cannot. And if you like, I can tell people over and over and over that this horse needs something different. And I can talk to my mentor who got me started in Liberty work over and over about the ideas and the cool things I'm exploring. And until they feel it for themselves and they start exploring it themselves, it's like you, I mean, we can go back to the butterfly analogy. Like when butterflies hatch out of their cocoon, they have to struggle out of this tiny little hole because it squeezes out all of like the juice from the little veins in their wings. It squeezes that out and then they can fly. And if you force that and you open it up and you help them out, they cannot fly. And I think even like I thought about that recently in like the the spirituality side of it in my Amish community. There's all of these people who are coming to the truth and who are opening, like they're so open right now and they want to hear, and they're just like they asked me for counsel because I'm going to, I'm a black sheep in a lot of these people's minds, and now they're coming to me quietly on the side and being like, so what can you tell me about this? And
Mm.
2 years ago, if I tried to like I they wouldn't hear it if I yelled it at them.
Mm.
But because they went through a process, they're ready to hear it now, and now that they can apply it. And I'm seeing that in different people that I'm teaching with horsemanship, or that I'm just observing in the horse industry, that this mindset in horsemanship and in just in life in general is not something that you can force people to have,
No.
or that you can almost like you can help them, but you can't even like
Right.
even when they think they want it, you cannot make them have
Right.
it.
Right.
Like it's just not possible. So even in the older even in the older generation, there's some people are opening up their hearts and their minds to it. My dad, after years of me feeding out of hay nets, and he grew up on a farm where you you give him a scoop of oats and a couple chunks of hay, and that's good for the night, right? And they're in their stall, and it's the horses are fine, and he's like, and they were fine, like they were fine. We had them until they were old, and they were great. They worked hard, and I was like, okay, this has just been conversation over and over with my dad and I over the last I don't know how many years. And my dad is amazing. He's very hardworking, very busy, lots going on. He is now finally consistently feeding out of hay nets without me telling him to. I
Love
bought
it.
him the hay nets. I bought him the hay nets. They're in the barn. And now he loves his hay nets because they save him on hay. and his horses are happy.
Oh, so it's gotten to his bottom dollar now. So now he's saving some money too, because like the hay nets stop wastage. Love that. Practical.
That. And and some random, I don't know who, some random horse guy was here at some point, Amish guy, and saw that we feed out of hay nets. And so he called my dad and he's like, he has a harness shop and he wants to stock hay nets. And so my dad's like, where'd you get these hay nets? Because there's this guy, this Amish harness shop guy wants to stock hay nets.
So I've worked with a hay net company for a number of years now. There's one company I feed my hay nets from. Love them. They're handmade by a female entrepreneur in Poland who's a friend of mine. She has a team of 3 seamstresses who work with her. They're the best hay nets I've ever had. And I collaborate with her because any new design or new net type that she wants to test, she sends me them to test with my herd. And if they work, then we sell them. And I'm currently stocking a small number and a line of different hay nets. Susan, I would love to send some hay nets to you and your community free of charge. After this podcast, I'd like you to drop me your address. And before I leave for my clinic tour next week, I'm going to put a bunch of hay nets into a box and ship them to you to try. Just different ones, just different models. And you can tell me if one net was more useful than another. I've got ground pillows and large round bales and small ones and ones with canvas bottoms, and I've got waterproof nets. I've got a bunch of different things for you to try. I'd love to send some hay nets for you and for your community, for your father, for anyone who you are in contact with who'd like to try. So absolutely free of charge. I'm not looking to sell them to you. I just want to send some to your community to try, to support that process, because that's something I can do like today to help. Okay? Make sure we do that.
That is incredible.
No, I just want to make sure we do that before we log off today, that we get that we do that, because I'm leaving next Tuesday in a week. I'm leaving for 7 weeks, and so I want to ship these nets out before I go. So yeah, awesome. Let's do that. That'll be really cool. Fun.
Thank you so much, Lon.
I love that. I love that you're like, it's such a simple thing, a hay net, but it can make such a long-term change for the horse's well-being, reducing incidence of colic, keeping them mentally more stimulated overnight when they're in a stable, especially in long winters. I mean, the long-term benefits for their well-being are enormous for such a simple choice.
Yes, it feels so simple that we were talking about having some mindset shift happening even in the older community, in the older generation in the community. I have some, older Amish men calling me now and being like, okay, so my horse doesn't like when we girth him up. So can you come look at him, or what do we do to fix him? And I'm like, okay, so first of all, like, what are you feeding him? And that's like they're not even it's the furthest thing from their mind.
Right.
The furthest thing. And he gets like 2 chunks of hay to last 12 hours. And I'm like, well,
could have ulcers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably, like, most of when I was doing client horses, most of the horses I brought in had horrible teeth and horrible ulcers. And that was why. Like, that was it. Like, it just, this such simple things to me now, but I didn't grow up with this information, and most people don't. And so that's one of the things that I see shifting in a really positive way. Is, the harness shops want to carry hay nets. Like, that's really cool.
Amazing.
So, yes.
Amish harness shops want to start carrying hay nets.
Yeah, that was the guy that came and talked to that called my dad, because this guy was here in our barn. I don't know what he was doing here. I don't know why he was here even, but he talked to my dad later or called him or something. And my dad was like, hey, this guy who owns an Amish harness shop is wondering where we buy our hay nets, because I think it was through like a hay supplier or something. It was some weird chain of events. He found out we use hay nets, and he wants to stock hay nets.
That is such a game changer.
I know.
Yeah, I want to send some nets to you. You watch within the next 10 to 15 years, the Amish communities are going to start creating, producing, and selling hay nets, and it's going to be an extremely profitable enterprise for them. They're going to be the home of hay nets for the USA. It's like, I've got Amish nets. Yes, I've got the Amish make the best nets. They would have, and they do them the best. I guarantee that's going to happen once they understand.
That's going to happen, and I'll support them. I love my hay chicks nets, But if the Amish start producing quality hay nets, that's something I'll support and promote.
Yeah. Okay, we're taking a break, guys. Susan has really inspired me since I got to know her. And since recording this episode, I met with her in Maryland in the USA at a clinic in the springtime and got to spend some time together. And I did end up sending her those hay nets. And someone like Susan really inspires me because of the way she thinks about community. And something I've been working on this year is creating accessible education and accessible, like-minded, like-hearted community for horse people who need that and who want that. And though I'm not the world's most perfect horse trainer, for some people, they find the information I have to offer really helpful. And so I've created what I believe is a perfect landing pad to receive community, education, and support. And I call it the Emotional Horsemanship School. This school is an affordable package where you can see hundreds of training films and new training films added every week, plus live community coaching calls with me personally, plus community that's all off social media and safe from the algorithm. And it costs 19 euros per month. You can start anytime, stop anytime, and return at any time. This is my most affordable and accessible way for you to continue being part of community with people just like you and receive education, tutorials, and uplifting support on an ongoing basis. And I hope you'll consider to join me. You can find a link to that in the show notes of this episode. And with that, let's return to this episode with my friend Susan Regina Glick.
That's going to happen, and I'll support them. I love my hay chicks nets, but if the Amish start producing quality hay nets, that's something I'll support and promote.
Yeah, Hay Chicks is a company that keeps coming up again and again for anyone who loves hay nets. I'm going to send you my nets and you tell me if you love them. I'm not looking for a business opportunity. I just want to send you these nets because I love them and I want to help you bring them into your community. Maybe you can hand some out for free to families that need them, or if they're useful. I want to do that. I'll put a couple of boxes together and send you something. Okay?
That's incredible. Thank you so much.
Of course. So I just wanted to circle on to, and I don't want to spend too much time talking about this because I don't want to be heavy on the Amish community and what happens to some of the horses there. But I mean, I've got a horse in my business right now who's stewarded by one of my clients. I say stewarded, not owned, because I have a problem using the word owned around horses. But this horse, he's 20 almost, and his early life was as an Amish cart horse, and he then went from Amish cart horse into quite coercive, highly inappropriate dressage. I say dressage in quotes because it wasn't really classical dressage through the gentleness that it should be. And he spent about 8 years in that dressage environment. But from ages 2, 3, from when he was started to 10, 11, he was an Amish cart horse. And it gave him a lot of skill. He understands lines. He understands how to go forward. He understands how to put forth effort. He understands how to work. And a lot of horses don't know how to put forth an effort with people. They don't have a relationship to work with people. A lot of horses now don't. And that can be quite a fraught experience for people who are trying to be gentle to their horses, but also to grow in their horses a work ethic. That can be really hard to do. Yeah. So it gave him a work ethic, but it also bore some emotional scars for him. In your experience, because you know way more than I do about this, and let's speak on it with dignity and respect for the community and without blame or judgment.
Please.
Well, we use positive judgment. We use because we're able to make judgments and by way of understanding, not by casting aspersions or claims against people's characters or their soul, right? So their souls are not in this discussion. But what sort of issues do you find in your community with some of their horses sometimes? And because I'm assuming that's part of the reason why you're so passionate about assisting.
Yeah.
Because of some of these issues. Let's just speak to it so that we're all just aware, because there'll be people listening who just don't know. And I think awareness helps.
Yes, I agree. So I think it comes from well, I'll speak to the issues first, actually,
Yeah,
before I
let's speak to
diagnose
the
the root
issues.
of it.
Yeah.
What I see a lot of, what I have seen a lot of is undernourished, um, sometimes underfed, a lot of unhealthy horses, usually stemming from a lack of nutrition, not always a lack of food, but a lack of nutrition. Um, and then the other the other thing that to me is a huge problem is the way the horses are just like just dispensable. And so I see a lot of older ex-road horses at the auctions that are gonna just be shipped to slaughter, and that breaks my heart every time. And so sometimes it's not just older horses. Sometimes it's horses who had a treatable hoof issue or a injury that given 6 months of rehab they would have been fine again. But what I was seeing was a lack of connection between, like, from the owners to their, or between the owners and horses. I guess we call them owners in this sense, but um lack of connection and a lack of relationship there, and that made the horses just like disposable. It makes them not not less valuable, because they need the horses to live. Like, if you're Amish, you need horses to exist in this culture because it's your transportation. If you're a farmer, that's how you work the fields. It's like they're a huge part of life. And but somehow along the way, for some people, that meant that they were like a tool to be used for work, put back in the stable when we're done. And if something comes up that they don't recover from within a couple of weeks, we send them to the auction and get a new one. And that probably was like that was the biggest disappointment to me as a young girl, like growing up and realizing that that was happening. Because my family was not like that. My dad raised like our family buggy horse. They bred and raised this foal. My dad raised this horse as a baby. They grew up together. He had this horse until when she was like 34 or
Mm.
30, maybe I'm sorry, 32. Like, at this point I was 15. You know, she my delightful, lovely Sundance kicked the old mare in the hind leg and broke her leg, and so then she was euthanized and she went to heaven. But she was incredible, and so that was my dad's attachment to this horse. Was like, he raised her, and we had her until I mean, she was retired for like years before she went to heaven, and that's really, really uncommon in the
Mm.
community.
God
Once you
bless
have
your
a horse
dad.
that's, yes, God bless my dad, he is amazing. But a lot of, so growing up, when I realized that this is happening, where like horses get old and you send them to the auction and they probably go to slaughter, I was heartbroken. I didn't like That was just beyond my imagination. I could not think of anything worse than that for horses as a young girl. And so I think that's part of what's still like a really big tug for me to help those horses. And that, I think, that's partly why I'm seeing that, um, helping the younger girls with their ponies just have an appreciation for horses and for who they are as horses, like not feeling entitled to the horses and what they have to offer. Um, I don't know if that's something that'll ever translate to the older Amish men, and they're the ones who are making the decisions for the the buggy horse who's too old to work anymore. I don't know if that'll translate to like that generation at this point, but I like to think that at some point in the future there would be fewer horses going to auction because somewhere along the way people learned that you can actually connect with and appreciate horses for who they are and not just for the job they can do. Because if all they have horses for is for the job they can do, then why not send them to New Holland, still stables when they're done? Um, so that that's sorry, that was I feel like that was a long rambling answer to
No,
your
it's
question
it's
about
a
what the
beautiful
issues
answer.
were that I was seeing or that I see. But that probably is one of the biggest. And like I said, I think the root of that is just a lack of appreciation for horses being who and what they are, and not just like a tool, like a tractor or a combine that we keep in the barn and pull out when we need it. So
It's it's an issue that is not only in the Amish community, Susan.
it's
You and I
true.
both know that
Yes.
issue is everywhere. And so the people who point the finger at the number of Amish horses who are in the slaughter pipeline and point the finger at the Amish community are also pointing the finger at their community, because the fact that there is a high prevalence of Amish horses in the slaughter pipeline is because horses are an integrated part of Amish life, and there is just more horses in Amish hands than in other hands doing jobs. So the number of horses doesn't speak to necessarily the wholesale attitude of that community, beyond the fact that the Amish seem to have more horses per capita than an English person, because they're going to use a tractor, they're going to use machinery, but the Amish person is not. And so therefore that's why there are more. That doesn't necessarily mean there's worse horsemanship present in the Amish community. It just means that there are more horses in that community. There's probably, like your father, a number of Amish families, communities minding their own business somewhere in the countryside who have their beloved family cart horse. And when their cart horse is too old, they give them a pasture and dignity, and they love them, and they're part of the family, and they care for them until the end. And that warms my heart to hear that. But I know plenty of non-Amish people who highly prize their horses but don't value them.
Yes. Oh wow, that's a good,
Highly prized,
highly prized,
not valued.
but not valued. Yes.
Or highly used, highly useful, but not valued. And so you're saying that you think, you feel that the potential solution to this is relationship-based building between horses and people, and having people learn that horses are smart, that they have feelings, that you can connect with them, that they can be a friend, that they can, like a pet, increase your quality of life as well as doing a job. Is that right?
Yes. That is what I'm saying.
I love it.
Yes.
I love that
Yeah.
your work is not,
And
go on.
you're sorry, go ahead. Well, I was just gonna say, and you're right. It's very much not limited to the Amish. And that's the really cool thing about seeing this shift happening in the horse industry and horsemanship in general is like people are opening up their hearts and opening up their minds to what's possible, and that maybe like the really cool thing that keeps coming back up when I talk to people is like they're realizing that like actually more is possible when
Mm,
you start with connection and relationship. It's
right.
not like you're limiting yourself then. And
Yes.
it's just I mean, yeah, it's kind of mind blowing, but I'm almost mind blown at the way it blows people's mind that
Right.
more would be possible if you ask instead of tell. Like
Mm,
it's wild. I understand where people are coming from because I was there, but it's where I'm at right now. It's always surprising to me how like the level of amazement people have that more is possible when you start with relationship and connection. So I'm sorry. I feel like I interrupted what you were about to say there.
No, we're both interrupting each other because we're passionate. We're speaking on the issue. We're layering into the issue. I almost forgot what I was going to say, but I love that your solutions are not driven through more performance or more ethical performance or more ethical application towards performance. Yes, that's part of it, but your entry into that is through connection with the horses. And I love that very, very much. Love that very, very much.
I so I have an interesting relationship with performance.
Me too.
We have a yeah.
Mm,
Um, I've I've said some things publicly that got me in trouble about performance
me
because
too.
I oh yeah. So so the word performance is always interesting because I know like in the horse industry people say it to mean like, performance as in like if you have a performance horse, it's like your show horse, your
Results.
competition horse. Yes. But my definition of the word performance and my like the connotation I have to the word is comes from like the spiritual um like my like I don't know just my the world I'm in the like spiritual health and spiritual growth sense. Um and that and in that world performance means usually means inauthenticity. So I've had many interesting conversations
Ah, so in the
with
spiritual
horse
work,
people.
spiritual performativism is about being inauthentic. If you're
Yes.
performing of, oop, yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
that's a hot button topic. I've seen this in the industry.
Yes.
How many performance horse trainers who 10 years ago were doing big sliding stops have completely rebranded themselves as the performance of spiritual development? How many?
Ah.
How
Are you
many?
actually asking for a number?
No. That's completely rhetorical. We don't need to say.
Yes.
But like it's a lot. And it's a lot.
Yes.
It's like take the same thing and put a different hat on it. But like the
Yes.
deep change isn't there. Like what would
Mhm.
happen if we took horses to an arena spectacular to give a performance and the horse went, not today. Would we force it invisibly
I've had it
somehow?
happen, so
Right. Would we enforce
it
it? Or do
happens.
we actually tell the story to the audience like the horse said no today, so we're not going to do that today? Is that what happened?
You know, actually, Lockie, do you know how much the audience actually loves that?
Exactly. They love
When
it
you
more.
say,
They love it
yes,
more because it's
it's awesome.
relatable. They're like,
And
oh, you're not a god. You're just like me. And isn't that relatable? Because all horses are actually like this.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
So
the
that's what
audience
happened to you.
loves it. So, oh my goodness. I mean, I have a Sundance. I wish you could meet Sundance because she is incredible, but she has gifted me that opportunity many times
Mm.
in the arena in front of sometimes thousands of people. And it's just like
She goes,
this is Sundance.
I don't want to do it.
That exact thing. And it's not even at this point, we're doing Liberty work and we're doing a Liberty work that is not like at this point I can't fit it into boxes of like there's like three big Liberty trainers in the United States and I'm sure there's more elsewhere, but there's like three or four big name Liberty trainers in the States that I grew up hearing about or that are big names right now. And most people who are doing Liberty work
There's no
follow one of those.
freedom there.
No, there's no
It's not
freedom
freedom.
there.
It's not
Oh my
liberty.
gosh. Oh, well, like I
It's
could tell.
invisible chain
We
performance. It's
don't have to.
invisible
We don't have
chains.
to get into like the horrors of it. But when I started getting into Liberty work, I thought like the Liberty industry, like because it's a whole separate discipline and there's an association for it. And I thought that this is going to be, like the
Freedom.
most free and welcoming and
Nope.
loving community. And
Nope.
I love my Liberty community. They are amazing. Also, I have heard the most horrific things
Yep.
about, and I know of them personally, and I know some of these people personally, and they're great people. But I have heard and seen, witnessed some egregious things going on in the Liberty discipline.
Preach.
They're like like I don't even,
Yeah.
it blew my mind, and I still, there's no way to make it go back together in my brain. There's no way. I can't even look at somebody doing liberty work anymore that I know had, used some of these experiences in their training for this horse to not leave ever
Mm.
and go, oh wow, but that looks really pretty and they look really connected. I'm just like, no, there's just like, I have
It's
no appreciation for
performance of
what you're doing in
connection.
that performance
Yeah.
because I know what happened behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And so
I
at
get
this
riled up
point, like,
about it too, Susan. I get mad about
I'm
that.
sorry.
I get mad about that too because
Ah,
it's misleading, it's dishonest.
so dishonest. It's so incongruent. It's so inauthentic. And inauthenticity just like in this, like especially with horses, because we know that horses can feel it.
Yeah.
And what you're doing, if you're going out there and doing a liberty performance, but in reality, you like beat the horse half to death at home when they left. Like when they chose to leave the liberty session, you
I know you're not
made them
exaggerating.
think
I know you're not
you made
exaggerating.
the horse think they were going to die when
Yeah.
they left.
Yeah.
So that you could come into this arena in front of 5 or 6,000 people and make it look like you have this really cool connection. And we're all horse people there. We're going, wow, because we know that's not easy with a horse. We know horses don't lie and horses, but you know what? Horses will protect themselves. And if that means look like giving the appearance of connection to protect themselves, they will. Like, I know horses don't lie, but horses also will not disconnect in the liberty sense if they think they're going to die.
That horse is telling the truth about how they got
Yes.
there. And
Yes.
that's why what I do, I call it emotional horsemanship because I'm trying to get people to look past the surface. I'm trying to get people to look past what the horse is doing and really feel what the horse is feeling when they're doing what they're doing. Because if you can feel what the horse is feeling when they're doing what they're doing, like an investigator, like an archaeologist, you can trace back that feel to something originally that occurred. And if you know what to look for, it's pretty easy to spot the liberty performances where the horses are just feeling highly coerced. And listen, it's not only pressure that can coerce horses, it's also manipulation can coerce horses, food reward can coerce horses, any kind of really powerful training that doesn't give space for dissent coerces horses. And if you're coercing a horse, quote unquote, coercing a horse so that you can take care of them, maybe we have grounds for discussion. But even then, I have to draw a line in the sand somewhere, you know, that there are some fates that are worse than death. But I'm so on the same page with you about that. And the only way we can know for sure that the horse is not coerced and is still consenting is if the horse periodically and maybe even regularly refuses without punishment and you allow that.
Yes.
That is the only metric where we can be sure that periodically the horse says, nah. And instead of that being a failure, we need to see that as a celebration of success. We need to change what we call effective training. That needs to change, I think. We need to change what works. We say, oh, it's not working. Well, what's not working? Are you sure it's not working? Is it not working because you're not getting what you want? Well, maybe that is working. Maybe that is good work.
Right.
That sometimes you don't get what you want.
Maybe that means the communication lines are open and your horse is feeling free to express and free to communicate and free to say no, which is the whole point. Supposedly, if we're doing liberty work or if we're speaking specifically about liberty work, that's supposed to be the whole point.
Yes.
So there's this really cool quote by Leslie Desmond.
Oh, she's a friend of mine. She's been on the podcast, 5-hour episode on this podcast.
Oh my gosh, Lucky. I have not heard that. I'm going to go listen to that.
It's not out yet. I haven't edited yet
really?
because it's 5 hours. I haven't had the time to edit it yet because it is 5 hours, but she's coming out on the podcast. She might already be out by the time this is published. Yeah.
So I have never met her. We've just recently become friends on Facebook, but
you need to talk to her. She's fabulous. She'll just call you in the middle of the day and be like, "How you doing?" Like once she knows you, she'll just connect.
I love her. Like I love what I know of her. But Warwick had her on his podcast, Warwick Schiller, like ages ago, and the quote that I took from that episode was she said, "What good is yes if no is not an option?"
Right.
And it was there's like this really cool full circle thing that happened at the Horse World Expo recently when I was presenting. Warwick was there and he like listened to some of my demo and I said that. It was like such a like I quoted that by Leslie from Warwick's podcast. It was just like a really cool full circle thing. But my addition, my little just addition to that quote is like, and what good is yes if like what good is yes if no is not an option, and also like if horses think that they are going to die if they say no, like no is not an option. Like you might think that people might think that you are giving the horse a choice, but if the horse knows that there really is no choice, like we talked about it, we talked like there was like a group discussion in my one demo where we were talking about like if you become a predator when the horse leaves, then you're always a predator to the horse.
Yeah.
Because it was about liberty specifically.
Yeah.
But just in general, if the horse says no and you turn into a predator because they said no, and I don't mean just like I don't mean that you're gonna go beat them with a 2x4. I mean like if you're chasing them around because they said no, or like hind quarter yielding for 5 minutes, you became a predator. And that's not
right.
that is not a there's no choice for them then.
Yeah.
That is not a choice.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry. I feel like I keep getting like louder and more riled up.
I love it. I am a safe place.
Okay.
For especially people like you to get louder and take up more space and to be powerful and to be opinionated and to stick to your values. You do not serve this world better by being more demure always and by being constantly a bridge, because if all you are is a bridge, you just become a walkover. At some point you have to say, stop. That's enough. At some point, like when I see some riding in top competition or in top performance fields like the Liberty field sometimes, and I see these performances of these horses, I have to wonder, why did no one say anything? How many people had to stand by and watch what they saw happen for that horse to get into that position? How many people had to be afraid of being judgmental? How many people had to be afraid of using their voice? How many people had to be afraid of shunning, of social exclusion, of being labeled as difficult, being labeled as mean, being labeled as bitchy, being labeled as critical, being labeled as judgmental, for that horse to be so neglected by an entire community that they arrive at a performance where basically egregious methods are on full display? I have to wonder. And so we need voices, as many voices as we can, that find dignified, kind ways to be radically honest. Radically honest. Now, it requires tact. We can't just say, what you do is bad, and I think you're a bad person. I think that's going a step too far. But I speak very regularly about practices that I have a problem with, but I'm never speaking about the people personally if they're engaging with those practices. My beef lies with the practice, not with the people. Good people can engage in practices I have a big problem with. That doesn't mean I think you're a bad person. It means I think your practices are poor. And I separate between who you are and what you do.
Yes.
That's how I approach it. So if you ever want to just pop off in my inbox and like, oh, Lockie, I saw this today, and I'm like, I need to just express it. I'm really a safe place for that, for anybody. And I have a number of group chats with colleagues of mine where we do exactly this, because there is a lack of safe places for voices like this, because we're constantly being told not to. I mean, I love Leslie. She's a friend of mine. The reason why our podcast was 5 hours long is because this is what we debated on. She kept saying,
Oh, interesting.
no, 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 you can't be judgmental. I'm saying, yes, 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 we have to use good judgment. And we were at a bit of a stalemate for like 5 hours. I'm like, we need good judgment. Horses are getting
Yeah.
trained poorly because people aren't exercising good judgment. So if we're telling people not to use judgment, we're also allowing bad practices to continue. So what do we do now? She's like, oh, but you'll destroy the try in people who need to do better. I'm like, well, maybe they need to stop trying what they're doing.
Yes. Oh my goodness, this is awesome. Like, do you know how closely this also correlates with like what we talked about earlier with my experience with the Amish?
Yes.
Like, if it and religion in general, if people, if like religion and I don't mean this just in like the church sense, I mean the religious mindset in horsemanship and in any industry or any part of society has turned so many people away and has shut so many people down by making people feel as if we think they are the bad thing
Right.
and not whatever like
Practice.
horsemanship practice
Yeah.
that we don't agree with or that we have,
A problem with.
an ethical standard, a problem with. Yes, like
And it's okay to have
I
a
think
problem. It's okay to have a
yes,
problem. You know, it's
it
okay for
is.
the horses to
It
have a
is.
problem too. And it's okay for us to have a problem.
Yes, yes, it's true. Oh wow,
Like
that was a good.
there's nothing wrong with being wrong. Like if I ever did something that was wrong, I know there's nothing wrong with me for doing something that's wrong. I'm human. That's why I did something wrong, because I'm human,
Right.
you know? And there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with being wrong.
Yes.
Like if I was ever wrong with the client and I realize it, I say, sorry, I lied. That's wrong. This is what I understand now. That's it.
Yeah.
It's that
Yeah.
simple.
Yes. Yeah. That is that, and also with my horses, I find myself doing that, especially as I'm still going through this metamorphosis and this transformation and throwing things out
Out.
that I don't want anymore
Mm.
and incorporating new things. I continuously find myself coming back to my horses and saying, I'm so sorry that I approached you with this mindset, or I'm so sorry I used this practice, or I'm so sorry I did this to you. Will you forgive me? And usually they do.
They've already
And
forgiven. See, where do you think I learned this from? I learned this from the horses, right? Because they're like, I love you, but what you're doing is trash for me
yeah, yeah,
personally. So just change
yeah,
what you're doing and I'll get along, right? I don't have a problem with you. I just have a problem with what you do.
yes,
That's it.
yes,
That's where I learned it from, is from them.
yeah, yeah. Oh, the things we learn.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I
they're
have I
amazing.
have three questions I like to round out these episodes with. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
The first question, I call it muck out with me. Or if you're nasty, what the muck?
Okay,
Okay. So I want you
okay.
to imagine that our industry that we love, the equestrian industry, we love it,
We do love it.
that it's a little bit like a stable that a horse stayed in too long without getting
Okay,
cleaned. And there's something
okay.
in the corner that needs to be lifted up and mucked out. We've been talking about it here and there today, but what is one thing you would like to muck out with me today?
Okay. Like we okay, we're doing one thing, Susan.
Just
One.
pick one thing, or
Pick one,
you
pick
could
one.
pick a few. If you had the
I'll pick
power to just
I should
remove
pick
it from
one.
the industry, not debate it, not try and change it. If you could just snap your fingers and it was gone, what would you pick?
Oh, I think just people's pride or like their ego just being tied into what they're doing with horses.
You know, you're the first
Like
guest to
get it
actually
out.
say ego.
Really?
Yeah, and I've had
Do you
people
ask
write
this question on every podcast?
almost everyone, and
Okay.
I've had people write to me and say, you know, during your what the muck uh, segment, many people have said many things, but no one said human ego yet. I actually had that as an email recently, and so you're the first.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think because for me that's what ties into performance being like a negative thing in my mind, and I don't necessarily mean what we consider performance in the horse industry like we talked about. Like I don't necessarily mean competition I don't necessarily mean going and doing a Liberty freestyle, because that's performing, but performance and just, I think, like the ego and the power trip of it, of making things happen. Like, at it, just no matter how the horse is feeling. And I feel like I should have just stopped when I said ego, because I think that was just it.
No, you can
Now I'm
keep
trying to
taking.
explain it,
No, you can take up
but
space with your explanations. That works with me.
okay,
Um,
okay.
anytime, have you had a client or a person say to you or ask you a question, Susan, how do I make my, and you've already gone, no, no, we're not making. We're not making. How do I make my horse X? How do I make my horse love me? How do I make my horse respond? How do I make my horse go forward? How do I make? How do I make? How do I make? How do I make? I'm like, well, firstly, let's stop trying to make it. Let's start trying to
Yes,
be it and
yes.
understand it. You know?
I stop. I don't even hear the rest of the question
Yeah, me
when they
too.
say make. I stop. I'm like, I'm already gone.
Yeah.
I like, at
I
this
think the
point,
horses
when
are
I'm,
too.
yes, yes, they check out, because
Mm,
they're not trying. Okay,
mm,
they're not trying to be a thing. Horses are just being from day to day. They don't know what it's like to try and make something, like put up an appearance of,
right.
fill in the blank. They're just being.
Yes.
And like, just stop making.
Yeah.
I had this beef with a friend, dear friend. Where I was like, you, like, love this person so much. They are working on weeding out trying to be.
Mm,
They have an interesting relationship with authenticity, and they really, really, really want to be authentic so much that they're trying so hard to be authentic. And I keep just wanting to tell them, and it just has not felt right for me to actually say these words to them, but you need to stop trying to be authentic, and you
just
need to
be.
just be. Just be.
Yes.
The horses already know how to do that, and you can just learn it from them. But for some reason, we tend to take the long way around with these things.
Mm.
And again, the metamorphosis and is happening in their life, and I see it. And they are gonna need to struggle through some of these things, I believe, so that they can fly.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Cliche and beautiful.
My second question on the three-part segment towards the end is about the change we're experiencing. I think the change we're experiencing in the industry now is not like one change, like a switch that you flip. I think over time there's been an ebb and flow of change. It comes and it goes. It comes and it goes like a tide. So I call this segment the tide of change and would invite you, Susan, to answer it one of two ways. How do you describe this tide of change? How do you understand it? So, what is it? And or how are you making a contribution to that? It's a heady question.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
big.
fry the small fish here.
Yeah, it's good. Like, we're not wasting time.
Hmm.
Um, we're not beating around the bush. I I love my butterfly analogy. So the
Hmm.
tide of change, it's it's a but this is also, like, I'm seeing it everywhere right now, and I'm seeing, like, there's an awakening happening in this, like, societally, and just everywhere. There's awakenings happening. And it feels to me like there's just, once I learned the butterfly analogy, it's just like I see that everywhere. So I would probably apply that, and say that's how I see it. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, or if that's what you meant, but that's what comes to mind.
The only
And
thing I'm looking for is your truth to this answer.
okay, okay. So that's my truth for this answer, is I
Hmm.
think there's, and I think, and I see it happening individually in a lot of, even like some big name trainers, and some that I know personally who aren't ready to put this change out publicly, because it could wreck their business in their mind.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it will. I don't think it will. But the horse industry can be harsh, and we've taught ourselves that we can't bring
Change.
this transformation that's happening is going to affect the way people see us, and it's changing, and the industry doesn't always like change. Um, but I see the change as a positive, very positive thing. I see it shifting really positively right now. And I still like the metamorphosis analogy. So,
Mm.
um, how am I contributing to it? I don't know. Lucky, I also have an interesting relationship with thinking that I can contribute
Well, you
or that
already
I
are.
am contributing.
That's the funny thing, because it's like, does a fish know
So,
it's wet? You know, does Susan know she's contributing? Of course you are. You already are.
but like I know that I am. I know that I am. But it's sometimes hard for me to. I also grew up in a culture. You have to understand. I grew up in a culture where like humility is
Huge. Yeah, 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 yeah.
about
Huge.
the biggest. Like maybe not even just next to godliness, but maybe more. And my definition, my lovely spiritual mentor has helped me understand that humility is not thinking more or less of, like, true humility is not thinking more or less of yourself than what's actually real and what's
Yes.
actually true.
Yes.
And my tendency is still, like, it's a work in progress, but my tendency is to hold myself a little lower than what I know is truthful, just so that I don't go up over the edge of not being humble. It's so weird. It's so weird. But authentically, I know that I'm making a difference, and that one of, I think one of the ways that I'm contributing is that I am a safe place for people to start asking questions to.
Mm.
And like I'm recently learning this about myself, actually. But I think that's one of the ways I'm contributing, because people feel safe to ask the questions and to start exploring the theories and exploring the different things, because I don't know why, but somehow they do feel safe to do that with me. So
Your
I think that's the way that
humility.
I'm contributing.
Your humility.
Okay.
I'll say it. Like, it's funny you said humility, because yesterday and the day before, I was having a long discussion with one of my mentorship groups. I have groups of clients that come together all year, and we stay in a mentorship container throughout the year. And it's one of the primary ways I do my work now is through that, because I really like that long-term assistance role, and make it economical for them to do that. But uh, humility came up, and I was talking with a client who was having some issues, and the way the issues were being reported was like, the horse isn't XYZ, the horse doesn't XYZ, and I just said, horsemanship should humble us always. And they said, what do you mean by humility? And they took up a dictionary definition of humility, which I think is a poor definition. They said to lower one's estimation of oneself,
Mm,
something along those lines. And I'm like, no, you don't like put yourself in the dirt. You don't say I'm crap. I'm not worthy. You don't. That's not humility. That's again performative. Inauthentic humility. Humility says, I know what I am. I know what I am not. And in front
yes.
of a horse, compared to a horse, I am not good at horse compared to a horse, always.
Yes.
Compared to a horse, I understand very little about being a horse compared to a horse. And so horsemanship should be for the horse, not for us, just like dressage is for the horse, not for us. And we need to be humble before that always, because if we don't actively seek humility in front of the horse, then we're likely to meet a horse who will force that humility upon us
Yes. And over again
over and over
until we
again, if
recognize it.
necessary, until we get it. They're like, you're not getting it,
Yes.
monkey. Come on.
Yes. Exactly. It's humility is not being a butterfly and thinking you're still a worm.
That's it. It's like, as if, how dare I have wings? How dare I?
Yes.
Right? No,
Yes.
I've got
Yes.
wings, and they're
Yeah.
colorful. And so what?
And you know what else? You know what else the butterflies don't do? They don't fly around and think about how the caterpillars are probably judging them for flying.
Hello. That one too. That one too.
So there's that.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Well
And
done.
just for just for authenticity, like this is things I'm learning to apply.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
working on it.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. It's good.
Yeah. My last question is about home. Learning is a journey and that's important. Learning can be a journey. Doesn't have to be though. For me, Susan, and maybe you feel the same way, the best learning is done at home when I've got a solid base and then I pick up a book or I go on an experience, or I go to learn something, but I need a solid base to learn for me. I don't learn well when everything's unstable around me. I personally don't. And though I'll go on I'm talking logistically, I'll fly to another country for a holiday and I'll learn something about that country while I'm over there. But what do I bring home with me from that holiday? Maybe I bring home different foods. Maybe I bring home a different awareness of attitudes. Just like when I visited the Amish in New York, and I'm like, oh, this energy of just peace in this community felt really nice to me. And since then, I brought home this little seed in the back of my mind of when the Amish said to me, I can only do what I can do, and I'll work
Mm-hmm.
on something until I need to move on somewhere else. And I'm trying to actually instill a little bit of that lifestyle. So this question's about home. What is home for you? What do you come home to no matter what you learn? What has been true for you throughout your life, no matter what you learn, no matter where you did? What's home for you?
So that's really good. I think that the reason I'm pausing is because I am questioning whether or not it's been true for me, or whether or not I recognized that this is home, but for a long period of time. And I know that I haven't recognized all my life that this is home, but um, what's home for me is I've started like this. This is You said this is a safe place, so I'm going to share this. My prayer recently, more recently, like in the last 2 months, almost daily, has been that God would help me see who He sees in people and in horses. And it has worked. Like, it has astonished me. I have, like, the way I see people and the way I'm able to see horses has completely transformed. Even in the last 2 months, has completely changed. And I believe that home for me is recognizing and 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 appreciating the good that is horses. Home, and I don't know if you're asking specifically about horsemanship, but that is what feels like home to me and with horses. Because a lot of my horsemanship journey and the learning and the processing that I've the 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 process that I've been through with horsemanship has been about us making the horse into something that can be good or useful or beneficial to us in some way, and recognizing that the horse is good, and that the horse, like, we are not making something, creating a thing in the horse for us, for our use. Like, they're not, it's almost like, if I can again just like correlate it to the religious or the spiritual side of it, is like, I no longer believe that people and horses are like born bad and we need to make them into something that's good. Like, I believe people are actually born innately good and divine and holy, and things happen, and evil exists, and so our true selves and who we authentically are and who God created us to be gets covered up by all of this crap. And I think that the same is true for horses and in horsemanship. And if I can be a space where horses feel free to let go of some of that, because I recognize that horses are good, and the same with people. That's what feels like home to me, is recognizing that they are good at their core. And it's with horses and people. I don't know if that's what you were looking for. I have no idea what the answer to that question usually is.
Again, every question I answer is unloaded. I'm really just looking to hear what you have to say. It's the same how I am with a horse. I'll ask them a question, not because I'm looking for a specific answer, but I want to know what their understanding is.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful answer. And the amount of pause you brought to the answer is also really significant for me, because just like with horses, the best information lives in those pauses. I think those pauses is our spirit trying to come out of its cocoon. That's what the pause is. The pause is a shift in spirit. So when I ask a horse a question and they pause movement, it's because they're shifting something deeply, deeply inside, or maybe even higher self. They're shifting something. And if I shame spiral because they're not moving, but at the same time want the horse to co-sign transformation, I'm kind of working against my own intention. And so I celebrate pause in a horse and in you to really consider that answer. And that also speaks to your Amish background, because the culture that you come from isn't, let's say, in a vulgar sense, an anti-modern culture. In a vulgar sense, it's much more than that. But in a really vulgar sense, when I say vulgar, I just mean crass, broad strokes sense. It's an anti-modern, and modern is to rush, and anti-modern is to pause and take your time. Well, I think that's beautiful. That in your nervous system, in your heart, in your mind, in your spirit, you've given yourself permission to pause to answer a question. That could be an answer to what is home for you. The ability to pause and think, consider. That's a home. That's a sense of home.
It's true.
Well, Susan, I've really enjoyed getting to know you this morning.
Yes, this has been wonderful.
You've been really, really fun. Where can people find you and connect with you?
I'm on social media, Facebook and Instagram. I don't have a website.
We need
Maybe
to
at some
fix
point
that.
in the future.
We need to
I
fix that.
know.
I'll help you get a website.
Oh, thank you, Lockie. I think at some point in the future there will be a website. Just like my thought around my business, or my vision for my business, has always been, I self-limited it to the Amish, and but then I go to these events and people are like, where can
Where have you
we
been?
book a clinic?
Where have you been?
And
No, you're going to be a superstar.
so
Once you stretch your wings and really fly, you're going to be a superstar. You've got chops that exist far outside of the community of the Amish. Though I think that's where your heart lives, is serving that community. I think the problems you're working on and the solutions you might have could apply to all of us.
okay.
That's what I think. I could be wrong.
Thank you for saying that.
Yes. I can see you have a complicated relationship to a compliment. Is that accurate?
It's very accurate.
Okay.
My mentor has told me that my receiver is broken.
Receiving energy. So that's part of it.
We're working on that, because that's a big thing that my horses have been teaching me lately too, is like, we can't connect with you there until you fix that.
Yeah.
So we're working on it.
Cool. So social media.
Thank you for saying that.
So Facebook and Instagram, who do they look for? Tell us who to look for.
So my business name is Heart Song Equine.
Heart Song Equine. One word, yes. Heart Song?
Heart Song is
heart
one
song.
word. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Equine.
Heart Song. And I post like intermittently on those pages, and then my personal pages are where I post the more like the longer form posts and hot takes and things that I feel compelled to share, are usually on my personal pages.
And your personal page is?
It's Susan Regina Glick. So it's just my
Susan
full name.
Regina Glick on your personal
Yes.
page. So you're more regular on your personal page than Hatsong
Yes.
Ikwan.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, if anyone wants to just go straight to those pages, I'll include them in the show notes of this episode.
Cool.
People can just click on that and go straight to it. Is there any, this is maybe the last question, is there any question I didn't ask you that you wish maybe I had asked?
I can't think of anything because I didn't really know what to expect. And so I didn't come up with questions I was hoping you asked.
Good. Okay. Well,
but I really appreciate you giving, it feels like a huge opportunity.
For me, it's a huge opportunity for me to get to talk to you.
That's not
I know that you're so uncomfortable now.
Okay. You can't keep complimenting me, Lockie.
I'll just keep doing it until you feel good with it. I'll keep doing practice.
Okay, so what I really meant was the other way around, but also what I wanted to say is it also ended up feeling just like a cool conversation. And like, I literally forgot we were recording.
Me too. Yeah.
So
I forgot.
saw it up at the top there and I was like, oh yeah, that's the whole point of this conversation. It wasn't just to talk about cool horse stuff with Lockie. So
I forgot we were recording
Thank you for making it comfortable.
You're welcome. Thank you for being so open and honest with us.
Yes.
Well,
absolutely.
I'm going to press stop recording now. All right. Say goodbye.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Okay. Thank you, Susan, for being on the pod. I hoped you loved meeting her, this positive, upbeat, fantastically talented horse person who I believe is going to do some really important work in her community. Thank you for listening. Again, if you'd like to join the Emotional Horsemanship School, which is a powerful place for you to connect in community with horse people just like you and get training films and tutorials and live coaching calls with me, all on a come-as-you-are basis, you can go to the show notes of this episode and sign up, or you can go to emotionalhorsemanship.com, navigate to the Emotional Horsemanship School page, and you can follow the prompts to sign up there. I hope to see you there. Thanks for being here, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.